Switch. Oh. Hare Krishna dear devotees, this is the place where Krishna jumped from this huge tree 5,000 years ago onto the Kalya's head. We're going to tell you the pastime in a minute. As you can see, Kalya's wives and Krishna. Prabhuji, we're ready for you.
Very good.
Hare Krishna. Okay, today we are going to read from Krishna book, chapter 16, Subduing Kalya, from Srila Prabhupada, Krishna book, Krishna the Supreme Person of Godhead. So, subduing Kalya. When he understood that the water of the Yamuna was being polluted by the black serpent Kalya, Lord Krishna took action against him and made him leave the Yamuna and go elsewhere, and thus the water became purified. When this story was being narrated by Shukadeva Goswami, Maharaj Parikshit became eager to hear more about Krishna's childhood pastimes. He inquired from Shukadeva Goswami how Krishna chastised Kalya, who was living in the water for many years. Actually, Maharaja Parikshit was becoming more and more enthusiastic to hear the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, and his inquiry was made with great interest. Shukadeva Goswami narrated the story as follows. Within the river Yamuna, there was a great lake, and in that lake the black serpent Kalya used to live. Because of his poison, the whole area was so contaminated that it emanated a poisonous vapor 24 hours a day. If a bird happened to even pass over the spot, he would immediately fall down in the water and die. Due to the poisonous effect of Yamuna's vapor, the trees and grass near the bank of the Yamuna had all dried up. Lord Krishna saw the effect of the great serpent's poison. The whole river that ran before Vrindavana was now deadly. Krishna, who adventured himself just to kill all undesirable elements in the world, immediately climbed up a big Kadamba tree on the bank of the Yamuna. You can show the Kadamba tree. Yeah. This is the exact spot where Krishna climbed. The Kadamba is a round yellow flower, generally seen only in Vrindavana area. After climbing the top of the tree, where can you show the seed of the flower, please?
The seed?
Yeah, we got the seed here. Yeah, this is the seed of the Kadamba flower. The Kadamba is round yellow flower, generally. Missed it. Yeah, generally seen only in Vrindavan area. After climbing the top of the tree, he tightened his belt cloth and flapping his arm just like a wrestler, jumped in the midst of the poisonous lake. The Kadamba tree from which Krishna had jumped was the only tree there which was not dead. Some commentators said that due to touching the lotus feet of Krishna.
Can you repeat that last two
Okay.
sentences?
Yeah, we repeat again. After climbing up the top of the tree, he tightened his belt cloth and flapping his arm just like a wrestler, jumped in the midst of the poisonous lake. The Kadamba tree there, which was not dead. Some commentators say that due to touching the lotus feet of Krishna, that means it's the only tree that survived in Vrindavan at that time. The tree became immediately alive. That means originally it was dead. Because of touching Krishna's lotus feet, it was alive again. The tree became immediately alive. In some other Puranas, it is stated that Garuda, the eternal carrier of Vishnu, knew that Krishna would take this action in the future. So he put some nectar on this tree to preserve it. When Lord Krishna jumped into the river overflowed its bank as if something very large had fallen into it. This exhibition of Krishna's strength is not at all uncommon because he is the reservoir of all strength. When Krishna was swimming about, Just like a great strong elephant, he made a tumultuous sound which the great black serpent Kalya could hear. The tumult was intolerable for him, and he could understand that this was an attempt to attack his home. Therefore, he immediately came before Krishna. Kalya saw that Krishna was indeed worth seeing because his body was so beautiful and delicate. Its color resembled that of a cloud, and his legs resembled of a lotus flower. He was decorated with Srivatsa jewels and yellow garments. He was smiling with a beautiful face and was playing in the river Yamuna with great strength. But in spite of Krishna's beautiful future, Kalya felt great anger within his heart, and thus he grabbed Krishna with his mighty coils. Seeing the incredible way in which Krishna was enveloped in the coils of the serpent, the affectionate cowherd boys and inhabitants of Vrindavana immediately became stunned out of fear. They had dedicated everything to Krishna. Their lives, property, affection, activities, everything was for Krishna. And when they saw him in that condition, they became overwhelmed with fear and fell down onto the ground. All the cows, bulls, and small calves become overwhelmed with grief, and they began to look at him with great anxiety. Out of fear, they could only cry in agony and stand erect on the bank, unable to help their beloved Krishna. While this scene was taking place on the bank of the Yamuna, there were ill omens manifest. The earth trembled, meteors fell from the sky, and the bodies of men shivered. All these are indication of great immediate danger. Observing the inauspicious sign, the cowherd men, including Maharaja Nanda, became very anxious out of fear. At the same time, they were informed that Krishna had gone to the pasturing ground without his elder brother Balarama. As soon as Nanda and Yashoda and the cowherd men heard this news, they became even more anxious. Out of their great affection for Krishna, unaware of the extent of the Krishna's potencies, they became overwhelmed with grief and anxiety because they had nothing dearer than Krishna, and because they dedicate their everything, life, property, affection, mind, activities to Krishna. Because of their great attachment for Krishna, they thought today Krishna is surely going to be vanquished. All the inhabitants of Vrindavana came out of the village to see Krishna. The assembly consisted of children, Jai Shri Radhe, young and old women, animals, and all living entities. They knew that Krishna was their only means of sustenance. While this was happening, Balarama, who is the master of all knowledge, stood there simply smiling. He knew how powerful his younger brother Krishna was, and there was no cause of anxiety when Krishna was fighting with the ordinary serpent of the material world. He did not therefore personally take part in the concern. On the other hand, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan being disturbed, began to search out Krishna by following the impression of his footprints on the ground, and thus they moved toward the bank of Yamuna. Finally, by following the footprint marks of the flag, bow, and conch shell, the inhabitants of Vrindavana arrived at the river bank and saw that all cows and boys were weeping to behold Krishna's unwrapped. You can show the feet. The feet is there.
On the tree?
Yeah, on the tree. Come. Yeah. That is the mark of Krishna's feet. Yeah. The mark of Krishna's feet. Yes. Impression of his footprints on the ground, and thus they moved toward the bank of Yamuna. Finally, by following the footprints marked with the flag, bow, and conch shell, the inhabitants of Vrindavana arrived at the river bank and saw that all the cows and boys were weeping to behold Krishna enwrapped in the coil of black serpent. Then they became still more overwhelmed with grief. While Balarama was smiling to see their lamentation, all the inhabitants of Brajabhumi merged into the ocean of grief because they thought that Krishna has finished. Although the residents of Vrindavana did not know much about Krishna, their love for him was beyond comparison. As soon as they saw that Krishna was in the river Yamuna, enveloped by the serpent Kalya, and that all the boys and cows were lamenting, they simply began to think of Krishna's friendship, his smiling face, his sweet words, and his dealing with him. Thinking all of this and believing that their Krishna was now within the clutches of Kalya, they at once felt that the three worlds had become vacant. Lord Chaitanya also said that he was seeing that the three worlds are vacant for want of Krishna. This is the highest stage of Krishna consciousness. Almost all of the inhabitants of Vrindavana had the highest ecstasy, love for Krishna. When Mother Yashoda arrived She wanted to enter the river Yamuna, and being checked, she fainted. Other friends, who were equally aggrieved, were shedding tears like torrents of rain, of waves of river. But in order to bring Mother Yashoda to consciousness, they began to speak loudly about the transcendental pastimes of Krishna. Mother Yashoda remained still, as if dead, because her consciousness was concentrated on the face of Krishna. Nanda and all other who dedicated everything, including their lives, to Krishna, were ready to enter the waters of Yamuna, but Lord Balarama checked them because he was in perfect knowledge that there was no danger. Stop. Want to repeat?
No, no, you.
Continue. For 2 hours, Krishna remained like an ordinary child, grappled by the coils of Kalya. But when he saw that all the inhabitants of Gokula, including his mother and father, the gopis, the boys, and the cows, were just on the point of death, and they had no shelter for salvation from imminent death, Krishna immediately freed himself. He began to expand his body, and when the serpent tried to hold him, he felt a great strain. On account of the strain, his coil slackened, and he had no other alternative but to let loose the personality of Godhead Krishna from his grasp. Kalya then became very angry, and his great hoods expanded. He exhaled poisonous fumes from his nostrils. His eyes blazed like fire, and flames issued from his mouth. The great serpent remained still for some time, looking at Krishna, licking his lips with his bifurcated tongues. And the serpent looked at Krishna with double hoods, and his eyesight was full of poison. Krishna immediately pounced him upon him, just as Garuda swoops upon a snake. Thus attacked, Kalya looked for an opportunity to bite him, but Krishna moved around him. As Krishna and Kalya moved in a circle, the serpent gradually became fatigued, and his strength seemed to diminish considerably. Krishna immediately pressed down the serpent's hood and jumped up on them. The Lord's lotus feet became tinged with red from the rays of the jewel of the snake hoods. Then he, who is the original artist of all the fine arts, such as dancing, began to dance upon the hoods of the serpent, although they were moving to and fro. Upon seeing this, denizens from the upper planet began to shower flowers, beat drums, play different types of flutes, and sing various prayers and songs. In this way, all the denizens of heaven, such as the Gandharvas, Siddhas, the demigods, become very pleased. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Sri Krishna. This is Kalya Mardana ki
Jai.
Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Ananta Kodi Vaishnavanda ki
Jai.
Vrindavan Dham ki
Jai.
Kalya Gandhi ki Jai.
Jai. Hari Hari Bol.
After this, the prayers of Nagapatni. Stop there.
You can